It took me way too long to figure out that I should marry my wife, Kelly. To some, we were still married quite young. I was 27 and she was 26 when we finally said I do. We dated for 3.5 years, though, and looking back, I think we dated precisely 3 years and 3 months too long. She was beautiful and funny. She loved God, her friends, puppies, mountains, and the elderly. She was perfect. Yet I just couldn't bring myself to pop the question. On paper, she was flawless, but what if she was tricking me? I was a theater major in college, so I knew a thing or two about pretending. What if we got a few days into the honeymoon and she removed the mask? What if underneath all that kindness and warmth, she was actually a tyrannical mutant? I mean, love knows no boundaries, but there were some things I couldn't live with. Wasn't marriage about finding a perfect person for you? I needed to be absolutely certain. I didn't want an ounce of guesswork when it came to who I would be with for the rest of my life. At the 2.5 year mark, I sat on my bed and struggled with the song I was writing. It wasn't really a song, I admit. It was more an argument than a composition. But that's always been the way I write songs. I bring my questions, and my guitar brings her 6 strings, and I let the two of them wrestle it out. That's exactly what I was doing one not-so-ordinary South Florida day. I brooded on, as a typical afternoon thunderstorm raged outside my window. I was storming on the inside. I scribbled away in my journal, desperately trying to convince my heart to quit freaking out and hoping that God would give me the answer I was looking for. A simple yes or no would have sufficed. But try as I might, my heart was still in upheaval, and the Almighty wasn't talking. "Just tell me what to do," I screamed between verses. "I don't need to know anything else, just give me this one answer." It didn't help that I had recently graduated from a private Christian college. It seemed that my friends were all receiving words from the Lord left and right, while all I got was his cold shoulder. "Thanks, Jesus," I said, pouting. Even though I knew I loved my girlfriend, I didn't think my love was enough of a reason to jump in. I needed a divine green light from the Maker himself. I mean, why couldn't he do that? He parted the Red Sea, after all. He certainly could part my worry and grant me a little bit of peace. What was he waiting for? My conundrum continued. I knew I had to make a choice. A few months earlier, we had actually broken up for the 5th and what felt like the final time. Yes, my wife and I broke up 5 times while we were dating. I'm telling you, it's a miracle we made it. There was a myriad of reasons for our other breakups, but this time the reason was simple. I couldn't commit. The day before I was supposed to get on a plane and ask her father for her hand in marriage, I backed out. Ouch. In my weak defense, I didn't technically back out. I simply told my soon-to-be fiancée that I was scared to death. Shockingly, she didn't like that. I guess a woman doesn't like to hear that her man is unsure the day before he's asking for her hand in marriage. Imagine that. The next day, she justifiably got on the plane to Michigan without me, and I, also justifiably, stayed home in my fog of indecision. Somehow, I talked her into dating me again, but soon found myself right back where I had started. I was still scrounging for peace to make the move into matrimony. Why couldn't I get it together? I beat my head against the top of my guitar. Was this some sort of artist's unconscious self-sabotage? Was I in love with my doubt more than my faith? Was I making things harder than they needed to be for creativity's sake? Some old David Wilcox lyrics played in my head. I was mourning the loss of the choices I'd lose. Exactly. Choosing her meant not choosing anyone else. I was terrified. Saying yes to this girl meant saying no to every other girl down the road. What if my future soulmate was about to descend on a white horse from heaven, but I jumped the gun? I threw my guitar down and put my running shoes on. Disgusted, I heaved myself out the front door and ran headlong into the storm. The thunder and lightning outside perfectly reflected the tempest raging inside me. I started running in spite of the pouring rain. I found that sometimes when you're stuck in a spiritual standoff, the best thing to do is to stop waiting for permission and start moving. So I did.